I think it was 2011, maybe the start of 2012, when I got off the last bus after a late shift and started the 5-mile walk home to our little farm town. About halfway down the road, where the corn starts on both sides, I realized something was walking behind me. That was the night I learned why we shouldn't walk alone, and if my savior hadn't shown up when they did, the fear, exhaustion, and sheer horror would have dropped me right there in the dark. It's an old story now from my early 20s, but it still feels close when I think about it. At that time, I was living with my parents in a small town. Not the nice kind of small town people post on the internet. Just a few houses stretched out along a road, some fields, a tiny shop, and that was about it. I worked as a nurse at the hospital in the next town over. Normally I did morning shifts, and I'd be home before dark. That day, one of the other nurses called in sick and they asked me to stay for the evening shift. I finished around 10, maybe a little after. I changed, grabbed my bag, and caught the last bus. I was already tired and a bit annoyed. I just wanted to get home, have tea, and sleep. The bus dropped me at the usual dirt turnout where the road splits off toward our town. That spot is nothing more than a wide patch of ground, a bent sign, and a broken old bench. Most nights there are a couple of taxis waiting there because they know people come off the last bus needing a ride into the smaller places. That night, there wasn't a single car. I checked twice because it felt wrong. No headlights, no engines ticking, nothing. Just me, the bus pulling away, and the sound of the wind over the fields. I don't like standing around there at night. Sometimes men hang around drinking or just sitting, and you can feel they're not the type you want to be alone with. So I didn't stay long. I had two choices. Wait there and hope someone eventually passed, or start walking. It's about 5 miles to our house. I'd walked it in the daytime before. I decided I'd rather be moving than standing there feeling like a target. I had a small flashlight in my bag and a can of bear spray my dad had given me. I took both out before I even left the turnout. I kept the spray in my hand the whole time. I told myself, if it's a bear or a wolf, at least I have something. If it's a person, then at least it's still something. The first part of the walk was okay. The road was straight and open, with low fields on both sides. It was quiet, but a normal kind of quiet. My shoes crunched on the dirt and small stones, and every now and then I glanced back, just checking. That's just habit as a woman walking alone. You check, even if you're sure nobody is there. After a while, the fields changed. The land rose a bit, and I started passing taller plants, then bushes, then finally the long stretches of corn. I already knew I didn't like that part of the road, even during the day. At night, it's something else. The corn on both sides is tall enough that it blocks a lot of whatever light there is. You feel like you're walking down a narrow hallway of plants. This is where it started to feel really wrong. As I got into that section, I became aware of another sound mixed in with my own footsteps. At first it was faint, and I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just the way sound bounces between the tall corn, or maybe my bag brushing my jacket. Then I did a little test without even thinking too hard about it. I slowed my steps right down. Whatever was behind me did not slow with me. It kept the same rhythm for a second, then adjusted. That's when my stomach dropped. I stopped walking completely. The night went very quiet. No cars in the distance, no dogs barking, no other people. Just the faint sound of the wind in the tops of the stalks. Then I heard it very clearly. One step on the road behind me. Just one. Firm enough that it wasn't some small animal. Soft enough that it wasn't someone stomping around. I remember I had that feeling you get when you're about to cry, where everything tightens up in your throat. But I knew if I started crying right then, I'd lose my breath and make noise. And that felt like the worst thing I could do. So I swallowed it back and forced myself to turn around slowly, flashlight up, spray ready. The road behind me was empty, just dirt, a faded strip of lighter dust, and the walls of corn. I tried to give myself a normal explanation. We have wolves around sometimes, and bears have been seen further up the valley. I thought, Maybe it's one of those hanging back. Maybe it's just waiting for me to pass. That didn't really make me feel better. If anything, it just made it a different kind of fear. I turned back toward home and started walking again, a bit faster. My hand around the bear spray was so tight that my fingers were starting to cramp. I was trying to breathe evenly, but it wasn't really working. After a little while, I heard it again. Step for step. When I sped up slightly, it matched me. When I slowed down just a bit to see if I was imagining things, it adjusted. Then came the sound in the corn itself. It was a different sound from footsteps on the dirt. This was stalks brushing against each other and then releasing. Something was moving inside the corn not far away. The movement wasn't frantic or clumsy. It was slow and steady, like it knew exactly where it wanted to be. I didn't want to look into the corn. I kept my flashlight aimed at the ground ahead and the edge of the road, because part of me thought that if I didn't shine the light in, maybe whatever was there would pretend I hadn't noticed. Inside my head, I was going back and forth the whole time. If it's a person, they know I'm alone, and they know I know they're there. If it's an animal, running might trigger it. If I stop, it will close the distance. If I shout, no one will hear me out here anyway. My breathing kept speeding up. My chest felt tight. I wanted to just break and run, but I was terrified that if I did, it would switch to a full chase. So I kept this fast, almost clumsy walking pace, caught between walking and running. As I got deeper into that corn stretch, I noticed something else that scared me even more. Every now and then, the movement in the corn got a little bit quicker. Not by a lot, but enough to feel like it was shortening the gap between us. It felt like it knew I was getting closer to the town, closer to houses and lights, and it was trying to make use of the time left. I remember thinking very clearly, whatever this is, it wants to reach me before I get to the edge of town. I don't know how long that went on. It felt like a really long time, but it was probably only minutes. My legs were starting to feel unsteady. My hand around the spray was sweating. I was holding the flashlight so tight my wrist hurt. Then I heard something from ahead of me, on the road. Fast footsteps, different rhythm, lighter, closer. For a split second, my heart just dropped because I thought, it's in front of me now. It's cut me off. But then I heard a familiar sound, a bark, not a deep, echoing bark, just the exact bark I'd know anywhere. It was my dog. I saw him in the beam of my flashlight, running toward me with his ears back and his whole body stretched out like he'd been sprinting for a while. I still have no idea how he got out or why he came that far down the road in the middle of the night. All I know is that when he reached me, I felt something in my chest loosen, just a little. He ran straight up to me, touched his nose to my leg like he was checking I was really there, then turned his attention straight toward the cornfield and started growling. A low, steady growl that I had only heard from him a few times in his life, usually when something serious was near the property. The thing in the corn reacted right away. Whatever was in there moved fast, closer to us. I could hear the stalks shifting quickly, like something big had taken a few strong steps. My dog barked over and over, moving a bit toward the edge of the plants, then back to me, then forward again. That was the point where the fear finally broke through in a different way. I started to cry without really meaning to. Tears just started coming. I didn't wail or scream, but my face was wet and my breathing got more uneven, which is exactly what I'd been trying to avoid. I remember whispering to the dog, "Stay here, don't go in, stay with me," like he could understand everything. He stayed close, but he also refused to back down from whatever was in there. He kept positioning himself between me and the corn, then circling me like he was trying to cover all angles. You could tell he was scared too, from the way his fur stood up along his back and the tension in his body, but he stayed anyway. That was when I finally shifted from quick walking to running. At first it was an awkward run because my legs had been tight from walking so fast and being so tense. I stumbled a bit, got my balance, and then settled into a run that I hoped I could keep going at least until I saw some kind of light from the town. My dog ran alongside me. There were a few moments when he naturally moved ahead of me. He's faster than I am, but he kept slowing down to match my speed. He wouldn't leave me behind, even though you could tell his instincts were telling him to get away from whatever was in the corn. The rustling moved with us. Sometimes it sounded a little further back, sometimes right alongside. There were moments when it felt like it was only a few feet away, still hidden in those tall stalks. I didn't look. I couldn't. I was honestly afraid that if I turned my head and saw whatever it was, I'd freeze, and that would be it. Finally, after what felt like a lot longer than it probably was, the landscape started to open up again. The cornfields broke up into lower fields and a few scattered houses. I saw the first faint porch lights from the edge of our town. It wasn't bright, but after that darkness, it felt like a lot. Right around then, the sounds in the corn stopped. Not faded slowly, just stopped. Like whatever had been there had reached some invisible line and decided it wouldn't cross it. My dog gave one last long bark toward the fields and then focused fully on running with me. We didn't slow down until we reached our front yard. I got to the door, fumbled with the lock because my hands were shaking, and when it closed behind me, my whole body just dropped. I sat right down on the floor. My legs didn't want to hold me anymore. My chest hurt from breathing so hard and so unevenly for that long. My parents heard the noise and came to the hallway. At first they thought maybe I'd fallen or hurt myself. I tried to explain, but I was still catching my breath and trying not to start crying again. Later, when I'd calmed down a bit, I told them most of it. About the footsteps, the movement in the corn, the way it followed me for so long. My dad took a flashlight and went back out onto the road a little, just in case there had been some guy hiding out there. But he didn't find anything obvious. No fresh tracks he could see in the dark, no parked car, no one lurking near the town edge. We didn't call the police. Out here, unless you have a definite person and description, there's not much they can do. It would have sounded like a tired nurse scaring herself with animal noises at night. I never walked that road alone at night again after that. If I missed the taxi, I'd call my parents and wait for them, even if it meant sitting at the hospital longer. If I had no choice but to stay late, I found another way. I don't know exactly what followed me that night. Maybe it was a person looking for an easy target. Maybe it really was an animal, though it didn't move like any animal I've ever heard. Maybe it was a mix of things and my fear filling in the details. What I do know is that whatever was there was matching me, closing in bit by bit, like it wanted to get to me before I reached the safety of houses and lights. And I know that my dog, for whatever reason, chose to leave the yard and run all that way down the road in the dark, and that he stayed with me when he could have just run back home. If he hadn't come when he did, I honestly don't know how that night would have ended. By the way, my cup's been waiting this whole time, so I'm finally taking a sip. While I do that, you can roll right into the next story. Trust me, it's a good one.